Hello everybody, and welcome back to Winship's Electronics Repair. Today on the bench, we have a Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. Lavender Edition. Cracked back glass, cracked front glass. That's primarily why it is here today, is this cracked screen. I don't think I can get it to come on now, but I used to be able to get it to come on before I started recording, of course. And the LCD, or I guess it's not an LCD, the OLED display under here, it's done for. It's not good. It's not working anymore. The unfortunate part with these ones is that while these Samsung screens do look fantastic, they are very, very weak on these edges. The tiniest little crack, she'll break. So, that being said, what we have with us today is a new back glass. Simple enough. We have a new screen as well. Now this is a frame complete assembly. This one's a little bit different. This one is not a refurbish, and it is not a new one. New factory, I should say. Just because those cost well in excess of $300 or $400 Canadian for a good replacement. This one is just a AliExpress aftermarket display. Basically, the nicest one that you can get off of AliExpress without getting a factory display. That'll cost you that hundreds of dollars. This one actually costs us a little bit less than $100 Canadian after taxes and shipping, so we did make out pretty good on this one. And because we are in here already, we are putting a nice AmpCentrix Pro battery in there to bring the battery life back up to where she needs to be. Okay, without further ado, let's get underway. Step one in this process here is going to be just removing all of our accessories so that we don't forget later. So we do have the S Pen on the bottom here, and then we also have the SIM card as well. Just pop that in there and pull her out. Everybody's using virtual SIMs nowadays. There's very rarely do you see an actual SIM card. Okay, so let's get some heat on here. So for this one, since it has an uneven back, I'm not going to be using the heat mat. I'm going to be using the heat gun. So let's get some heat on here, and I'll be right back. Now, it does go without saying that you can use a heat mat if you so desire. You can also use your standard heat gun or even a hair dryer. The goal here is only to loosen the adhesive underneath, so any amount of good heat will do that. Okay, that should be enough heat for us to get started here. So we're just going to grab our razor blade. We're going to go right in on the bottom, straight in. And we're just going to apply some pressure. Get the blade in there. And there we are. Now since we are replacing this back glass, I don't have to be as gentle with it as I normally would. So let's go ahead and get this complete. See, when it's already cracked, you do run the risk of cracking even more, so we did just make a new crack there. But again, we're putting a new one on, so no big concern. Okay, we're all opened up here. Let's take this, set this aside. Now, since that was already broken, we do have a little bit of glass scattered around, so if that does happen to you, you just want to be sure to be careful that you don't accidentally prick yourself with any of that. So, next step is going to be removing all of our screws on the bottom here, as well as all of the visible screws up here on the top. This will help us to remove this wireless charging assembly, as well as the bottom cover and top covers. Okay, so we got all of those screws out here. So the next step for me anyway is I'm going to go ahead and grab a small flathead screwdriver, and then I'm just going to begin prying up on some of the connections here that need to be opened, as well as the plastic plate. So we got two connections here that do need to come up. So we'll just pop those up. These are just press-on connections, so all you gotta do is just pop them open and they come up with no issue. So you see here, so this is our top plate. Now this is going to have a little bit of adhesive locking it down here. So just pop in there and she'll pop right off just like that. A little bit more adhesive down here, no worries there. So what I'm going to do, this is just adhesive on here as well, so it's not that big of a deal if you break it, but I am going to try to keep it together just for the sake of simplicity. Okay, so here we are, and we'll just take and we'll set that aside up here. So now we are exposed to all of the goods. So we have our cables connecting down to our subboard down here. We have the main board and all of the important stuff up here. I'm going to get this board off here as well. Perfect. And now we're going to look. I don't believe there is any set screws on these ones except for the few down here. So we are going to go ahead and get those ones undone as well. Next, I'm going to go ahead and undo all of these cable connections just to make sure that you're very careful and that you don't break anything in the process. Okay, and that is all my main connections here now. So now I'm going to move to getting this bottom board out, and I'm going to move to getting the top board out. Bottom board, just make sure, just gotta give it a little pry. Comes right out, easy peasy. Top board, gonna be a fairly simple process. And I'm just gonna undo this selfie camera here. On some of the Samsungs, the selfie camera will come with the board quite easily, but it looks like that may be held down with a little bit of adhesive. So we're just gonna move here. Don't forget your S Pen connector as well. Aha, and here I am, just missing one extra screw right over here. That is my bad. Let's go ahead and get this out. There we go. Let's continue on getting this board out. Okay, there we are. Board is removed. Nice, easy peasy. So, because we are going ahead and leaving this battery with it, since we do have the new one that is going in, the only thing that we have left to take out is our camera here. And a simple little pry will do the trick. Perfect. Okay, so now we have everything we need out of this. We're going to go ahead and move on with the new screen. So this here is our new display assembly. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and start dealing with some of the protective films that are scattered throughout here. I actually believe that may have been the only one. So In that case, we're going to move immediately to putting these boards back in. Okay, now with these boards put back in, you see we just got our 3 set screws down here, the 1 set screw up here, and we did put these 2 connections back in. Next step for us is going to be bringing back these main cables, so we're going to go ahead and get these in now. My bad. Next step is going to be getting this battery in here, because if I put those cables on, I'm not going to get that battery in. So, these screens do come pre-installed with the adhesive, so all we gotta do, pop that off, grab our new battery here. So we do have just an Amp-Centrics, very good battery manufacturer. I've been using them for any repairs that I have, and I have not had any issues yet. Perfect. Just like so. Got that nice and in there. Perfect. And we'll go ahead and we'll make sure that battery connection is one of the last things we do. So just gonna get these wires in here first. Okay, so now we got these 3 cable connections in here. We are going to go ahead and reconnect our battery. Okay, that clicks in place. All good. This is our little top board here. I'm going to go ahead, give that earpiece speaker a little bit of a wipe there. Get that a little bit more, a little bit cleaned out. And right now, without the screws, the only thing holding these in is clips, so we'll just clip these in place. Sometimes you do have to apply a rather surprising amount of force. If you're ever uncomfortable applying the amount of force, don't worry about it. When you put the screws in, the screws will bring it right down nice and snug as well. Next up, it's going to be this here. Again, start with the bottom. It's going to be nice and easy. Clips in, done. Adhesive, stuck. Connections, connected. Okay, only thing left to do now is to put all these screws back in place, so let's do that. Okay, so now that we got all of those screws back in place here, I'm just going to throw the S Pen back in. And we're going to throw the SIM tray back in. Now, the customer is aware that the frame will not match the accessories. I did offer to purchase matching accessories, just because you cannot buy the aftermarket screens in any color other than black, or at least that I've seen so far. So, with all this connected, before we put the back glass back on, we are going to go power on, verify that everything does power on as normal. That's a good start. Just wait for this to come on. Okay, so you can see here that the screen came back on, came in as normal. I went myself into the settings just so that we're not going to reveal any personal information for the client. But you can see here, comes in, works fine. We do have larger borders on the bottom and more rounded corners. This is the one downside with the aftermarket AliExpress screens. It's just something that's going to happen unless you decide to fork out, like I said, $300 or $400. Then this is for the part alone. This doesn't include any, labor or anything to install it. And that's before tax. These screens cost $300. So it definitely makes sense to go ahead and get these screens that are a fair bit cheaper. Okay. Well, the next step is going to be to get this back glass on, and then we will be concluding this repair. So, like I said, I did offer them a black back glass to match. Alas, we wanted to stick with purple. Or lavender, I should say. In my opinion, this does actually create an interesting contrast, and I don't think it'll look too bad. It'll definitely be unique, so that is for sure. So let's go ahead, get these adhesives off here. Gonna take no time at all to do these. Just making sure to be careful with them because sometimes they're not super well stuck down and they'll actually come with the blue cover. So you just gotta make sure that that's not gonna happen. Oh. Perfect. So we're just gonna go ahead, peel up our adhesive here. See, it wasn't stuck down super well apparently. So here we are. Make sure that nothing's gonna peel off where it's not supposed to. Perfect. Get that off my hand, and we'll conclude this repair. Make sure all of our screws are in. I don't have any extra screws. All of our connections are solid, otherwise the phone would have given me an error. Perfect. Let's go ahead and stick this down. Here, we get the phone and a custom, we'll call it custom, unique. So we've got the black frame, with lavender back, and the Samsung lavender accessories. Everything here is all done and ready to go. So, with that being said, that concludes this episode of our Workbench Chronicle series. Just finished up with this Samsung S23 Ultra. All good to go, ready to go to the next happy customer. You guys stay happy, and we'll see your lovely faces in the next episode.